The unexpected lockdown. Captain Ryan groaned as he slowly opened his eyes. His head throbbed, and his vision was blurry. The cold, metallic floor beneath him felt strange, unfamiliar. As he tried to sit up, sharp pain shot through his ribs. His uniform was torn, and dried blood stained his sleeve. Something was wrong. A loud alarm blared in the background, its harsh sound echoing in the confined space. Red emergency lights flashed, painting the walls in an eerie glow. The room was small, too small. Ryan's instincts kicked in, and he scanned his surroundings. He was inside a quarantine chamber. The walls were smooth metal, with a reinforced glass window on one side. A control panel blinked beside the door, displaying a message in bold red letters. Quarantining it. No exit poisodal. Ryan's jaw tightened. What the hell happened? The last thing he remembered was the battle. Humans versus the Zereth, a reptilian alien race that had been at war with humanity for years. His squad was on a mission to secure a space station. But then, there was an explosion. Before he could gather his thoughts, a movement in the corner of his eye made him freeze. Someone else was in the room. He turned his head sharply, his muscles tensing. Lying on the opposite side of the chamber was an alien girl, a Zereth. She was young, maybe in her early 20s, with smooth bluish-purple skin and glowing yellow eyes that flickered open. Her silver battle armor was dented, and dried blood ran down her temple. Her breathing was unsteady, and she seemed just as confused as he was. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was thick with tension. Ryan reached for his belt, but his weapon was gone. The girl noticed his movement and immediately pressed herself against the wall, her sharp claws flexing slightly. They were both injured, both unarmed, both trapped. The robotic voice of the quarantine system suddenly echoed through the chamber. Containment protocol activated. Foreign biological agents detected. Quarantine duration unknown. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Foreign biological agents. He wasn't sick. Was the alien infected with something? Or was it just an error? Either way, the door was locked. No one was getting in. No one was getting out. The alien girl sat up slowly, wincing in pain. She examined her surroundings, then glared at Ryan with pure hostility. "You did this," she hissed in a heavily accented voice. Ryan snorted. "Yeah, because I love waking up in locked rooms with enemy soldiers." Her eyes flashed. "You attacked our fleet." Ryan folded his arms. "Your people attacked first." They stared at each other, silent but full of unspoken threats. The war between humans and Zereth had been raging for decades. Both sides saw the other as monsters. Now, two enemies were stuck together in a tiny room, with no idea how or why. Ryan sighed and leaned against the cold wall. "Look, we can kill each other later. Right now, we need to get out of here." The alien girl hesitated, then looked at the locked door. It was made of reinforced steel, impossible to break with bare hands. She reached for her belt, but like Ryan, she had been stripped of all weapons and tools. The chamber suddenly shook, a deep thud reverberating through the walls. Ryan's instincts flared. That wasn't normal. The alien girl's eyes widened. What was that? Before Ryan could answer, the noise came again, louder, closer. Something heavy was moving outside in the corridor. The glass window of the chamber was too fogged up to see clearly, but faint shadows flickered beyond it. Then came the scratching sounds. Ryan's heartbeat picked up. He had heard a lot of things in his years as a soldier, but this didn't sound human, and it didn't sound Zereth either. The alien girl whispered something in her language, then turned to Ryan. "That is not one of my people." Ryan clenched his fists. He already knew. The robotic voice returned, but this time, it wasn't just announcing quarantine status. "Warning. Unknown organism. DGTTTED. Security breach imminent." Ryan and the alien girl exchanged a look. The war between their species suddenly seemed like the least of their problems. Something worse was out there, and they were trapped inside. The unlikely alliance. The chamber was deathly silent now, except for the low hum of failing systems and the rapid breathing of two reluctant allies. Ryan stared at the locked door, his mind racing. The robotic voice's warning still echoed in his head. Warning. Unknown organism. DTTCTD. Security breach imminent. Something was out there. Something neither human nor Zereth. Ryan turned to the alien girl. She was tense, her glowing yellow eyes locked on the door. Her breathing was controlled, but the way her claws twitched against the floor told him she was just as unsettled as he was. He decided to break the silence. You got a name? She hesitated. Ziara. All right, Ziara. Ryan exhaled, running a hand through his short, dirt-streaked hair. I don't know about you, but I don't plan on dying in this box. Ziara scoffed. And what do you suggest, human? First, Ryan said, pushing himself up, we figure out how to get that door open, because I'd rather take my chances out there than sit here and wait for whatever is coming. Ziara gave him a wary look, then slowly stood, wincing from an unseen wound. You think I trust you? Ryan met her gaze. Trust me or not, you don't have a choice. A loud thud against the metal door made them both freeze. Ryan's hands instinctively clenched into fists, his soldier instincts kicking in. Ziara had already taken a defensive stance, her claws flexing. Then the sound came again. A deep, slow scraping noise, like something dragging across metal. Ryan swallowed hard. Whatever was on the other side of that door wasn't human, wasn't Zereth, wasn't normal. Ziara whispered something in her language, something Ryan couldn't understand, but the fear in her voice was universal. Then the sound stopped. Silence. Ryan and Ziara exchanged uneasy glances. We don't have much time, Ryan muttered. He moved to the control panel near the door. The screen was still flashing red. Quarantine location. Unauthorized, EXIT prohibited. Ziara stepped closer, studying the panel. The system is Zereth technology, but modified by humans. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Can you hack it? Ziara glanced at him. Can you hold your breath for 10 minutes? Ryan rolled his eyes. So that's a no. She ignored him and placed a clawed hand against the panel. The blue veins on her wrist pulsed faintly as her fingers traced the alien script, searching for something. Ryan crossed his arms. If you're stalling. There's a failsafe, Ziara interrupted. If quarantine is triggered by mistake, there should be a manual override inside the chamber. But, she hesitated. But what? It requires both a human and a Zereth to activate it. Ryan blinked. You're kidding. Ziara shook her head. It was designed in case of accidental lockdowns during diplomatic missions. Ryan scoffed. Yeah, because humans and Zereth get along so well. Ziara shot him an annoyed look. Do you want to argue, or do you want to live? Ryan sighed. Fine. Where's the override? Ziara pointed to a small panel near the ceiling. There. Ryan followed her gaze and frowned. Of course, it's out of reach. Without another word, he cupped his hands together and looked at Ziara. She hesitated. You're lighter, Ryan explained. And I don't have claws. Ziara gave him a long, unreadable look before finally stepping forward. She placed her foot in Ryan's hands, and he lifted her up toward the panel. For a moment, the tension between them was forgotten. Ziara reached the panel and pressed her palm against it. The alien script glowed blue, waiting for a second input. Your turn, human. Ryan stretched, reaching the panel with difficulty. As soon as his hand made contact, the quarantine screen flickered. Manuel override enggt. Quarantine status pending. Ziara dropped down, landing lightly beside him. Ryan was about to speak when the door let out a deep metallic groan. Both of them turned. Something was on the other side. The reinforced metal dented inward. Ryan took a step back. That's not good. The second hit was even harder. A clawed shape tore through the steel, revealing a sliver of the dark corridor beyond. Zira hissed. That door is supposed to withstand explosives. Ryan clenched his jaw. Whatever was out there, it was strong. A third impact sent sparks flying as the door began to buckle. Ryan turned to Zira. Tell me you've got a plan. Zira's eyes glowed in the dim red light. Survive. Ryan grabbed a broken metal pipe from the floor. He had no weapon, but he wasn't about to die without a fight. The final blow came, and the door ripped open. The air turned ice cold. A horrible clicking sound filled the chamber, deep and unnatural. The dim red light revealed a dark, shifting form in the corridor. Long black limbs, too many of them, moved unnaturally. The creature's glowing white eyes locked onto them. Ryan felt his blood run cold. Zira whispered, barely audible. That is not from this galaxy. Ryan gripped the pipe tighter. The real nightmare had just begun. The hidden enemy. The air inside the quarantine chamber turned frigid as the torn metal door screeched open. A thick, unnatural silence settled over the room as Ryan and Zira stood frozen, their bodies tense, their breath shallow. Beyond the broken doorway, the dim emergency lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the corridor. The creature stepped forward. Ryan tightened his grip on the rusted metal pipe, his heartbeat pounding like a war drum in his chest. The thing before them wasn't human. It wasn't Zyrith. It wasn't like anything he had ever seen. It had too many limbs. Its black, insect-like body shifted unnaturally, folding and unfolding as it moved. Its pale, glowing eyes locked onto them with an unnatural intelligence. A faint clicking sound echoed through the chamber, like an ancient predator communicating in a language neither of them could understand. Ryan took a slow step back. That's a problem. Zira was deathly still. Her yellow eyes, usually filled with hostility or defiance, now held something Ryan had never seen from a Zerith before. Pure fear. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. Her claws twitched at her sides. That is not from this galaxy. The creature twitched, its elongated head tilting as if studying them. Then it moved. Fast. Too fast. Ryan barely had time to react as a black limb shot forward, missing his face by inches. He ducked, swinging the metal pipe blindly. The impact sent shockwaves up his arms, but the creature barely flinched. It recoiled, clicking rapidly, its pale eyes flaring. Then suddenly, it stopped moving. Ryan's grip on the pipe tightened. Zira's claws dug into her palms. The creature was sniffing the air. A slow, crawling dread settled in Ryan's stomach. It wasn't attacking. It was analyzing them. Zira's voice was barely a whisper. It's hunting. Ryan's throat went dry. Hunting what? The creature's glowing eyes snapped to him. Then, with terrifying speed, it lunged. Ryan barely dodged, rolling across the floor as the creature's limbs sliced through the air where he had stood. He heard metal rip, the sound of something unnatural scraping against steel. Zira reacted instantly. She leaped onto the creature's back, her sharp claws sinking into its tough, black exoskeleton. The thing shrieked, a high-pitched, unnatural sound that made Ryan's skin crawl. It thrashed violently, slamming Zira against the wall. She let out a sharp gasp of pain, but didn't let go. Ryan forced himself up, gripping the pipe like a weapon. He had fought aliens, he had faced death before, but this was something else. This thing was built to kill. Faster, stronger, smarter. And worst of all, it was just playing with them. Ryan gritted his teeth, no time to hesitate. He raised the metal pipe and swung with everything he had. The pipe connected with the creature's head. A sickening crack echoed through the chamber. The thing let out a horrible screech and staggered back, giving Zira just enough time to push off and land beside Ryan. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, her usually confident stance slightly shaken. Ryan wiped blood from his lip. "I think we made it angry." Zira bared her sharp teeth. "Good." The creature let out a series of clicks, then suddenly stopped moving again. Its glowing white eyes locked onto them. And for the first time, Ryan realized something even more terrifying than its strength. It was studying them. Not like an animal, like a hunter. It tilted its head. The clicking sound slowed. Zira's eyes widened. "It's learning." Ryan's stomach dropped. Then, the lights flickered. In that fraction of a second, the creature vanished. Gone. Ryan's entire body tensed. He gripped the pipe tighter, scanning the room, but the thing had disappeared into the dark corridor beyond. Zira whispered in disbelief. "That's impossible." Ryan exhaled sharply. "No, it's just fast." A low, deep clicking echoed from somewhere in the vents above them. Zira turned her head sharply. "It's moving through the walls." Ryan's gut twisted. "We need to get the hell out of here." Zira nodded. "Agreed." Ryan glanced at the control panel near the broken door. It flickered weakly, systems failing. "We need a map of this station. A way out." Zira pointed to a small maintenance tunnel behind the chamber's broken systems. "There." Ryan didn't hesitate. He ripped off a loose panel, revealing a tight, dark passageway barely big enough to crawl through. Zira frowned. "You sure about this?" Ryan didn't look back. "You want to stay here?" Zira let out a frustrated growl. "Fine. But if we die, I'll kill you." Ryan smirked despite the situation. "Noted." They climbed inside the narrow tunnel, the cold metal pressing against them from all sides. Ryan moved first, Zira close behind. Then, just as Ryan was about to pull the hatch shut behind them, he heard it, a sound that sent ice through his veins, a deep, guttural chuckle. Ryan's blood ran cold. That thing wasn't just hunting them. It was enjoying it. He slammed the hatch shut and whispered, "Move. Now." As they crawled into the darkness, the station fell silent once again. But they both knew. It was still out there. And it wasn't done with them yet. Breaking the barriers. The air inside the maintenance tunnel was tight and suffocating. Ryan could hear Zira's breathing close behind him, controlled but tense. Every movement they made sent a soft metallic clang echoing through the passage, making it painfully clear how exposed they were. They were crawling through the guts of the station, a place meant for repair drones and wiring, not humans or Zereth. The metal walls were ice cold, lined with bundles of thick cables and flickering emergency lights. It smelled of burnt circuits and rust, like the station itself was dying. Ryan kept moving, his hands pressing against the smooth surface, his ears sharp for any sound of pursuit. Then he heard it. A low clicking. Not behind them. Below. Ryan froze, heart hammering. Zira stiffened, her breath halting. The sound wasn't coming from the corridor they had escaped from. The creature was moving beneath them. Zira whispered in her native tongue, a curse or maybe a prayer. Ryan didn't ask. He slowly turned his head and locked eyes with her in the dim light. She understood the unspoken question. "What now?" Zira tilted her head, listening. The clicks were slow, deliberate, not searching, tracking. The thing knew exactly where they were. Ryan clenched his jaw. They couldn't stay in the tunnel forever. If the creature was waiting below, their only chance was getting ahead of it. Zira moved up beside him. "If we keep crawling, we're dead," she murmured. Ryan narrowed his eyes. "And if we stop moving?" Zira exhaled slowly. "We wait until it moves first." Ryan wasn't convinced. "What if it doesn't?" She met his gaze. "Then we move first, and we hope we move faster." Ryan sighed. Great plan, but he didn't have a better one. The clicking noise below shifted, moving to the left. Ryan focused, trying to map the layout of the station in its head. If the thing was moving left, that meant his stomach dropped. It was heading toward the next exit point. "It's trying to cut us off," Ryan whispered. Zira clenched her claws. "Then we move now." Ryan nodded. "Fast." They both surged forward, crawling as quickly as they could through the narrow passage. The cold metal burned against Ryan's palms, but he ignored it. The dim, flickering lights streaked past them, their movements faster, more desperate. Then, suddenly, bang! Something slammed into the tunnel from below, sending a deafening shockwave through the passage. The entire structure shook violently, metal groaning under the force of the impact. Ryan's ears rang. Zara let out a sharp gasp behind him. Then, another hit. The floor beneath them cracked. Ryan's blood turned to ice. "It's breaking through." Zara's claws scraped against the walls. "Move." Ryan lunged forward, pushing himself through the tunnel with pure adrenaline. Zara was right behind him, her breathing sharp, her muscles coiled like a predator ready to strike. Then, the tunnel collapsed. Ryan felt the floor give way beneath him. Gravity ripped him downward. His body twisted midair as he crashed into a pile of tangled cables and debris. He hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the wind from his lungs. The air was thick with dust and smoke, and for a terrifying second, he couldn't see anything. A choked cough from his left made him whip his head around. Ziara was there, pulling herself out of the wreckage, her body trembling from the fall, but still intact. Ryan forced himself to his feet, ignoring the sharp pain in his ribs. "You good?" Ziara coughed but nodded. "I'll live." Ryan turned, scanning the new area they had fallen into. It was a maintenance bay, large, with rows of storage crates and broken-down equipment. Flickering monitors lined the walls, their screens filled with static and garbled warnings. Then he noticed something. The station map was on one of the screens. Ryan rushed over, wiping dust from the surface. The screen was cracked, but he could make out the important details. They were 3 levels below the command deck, close to an emergency power station. More importantly, there was a docking bay nearby. Ziara appeared beside him, her eyes scanning the map. "Escape pods." Ryan's stomach sank. "No, but there's a cargo shuttle bay." Ziara frowned. "And?" Ryan hesitated. "And if we can get to one of those ships, we might have a way off this station." Ziara studied him. "Might." Ryan exhaled. "Better than definitely going to die here." Ziara seemed to consider that, then nodded. "Fine. Let's move." They turned toward the only exit, a large metal security door leading into the next corridor. Ryan approached cautiously and pressed a hand to the control panel. It was locked. Ryan swore under his breath. "Figures." Ziara stepped forward. "Let me try." She placed her clawed hand on the panel, and the Zyrith technology embedded in the system recognized her. The screen flickered, and after a few tense seconds, the door slid open. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Nice trick." Ziara smirked, stepping past him. "You humans aren't the only ones who know how to override security." Ryan followed her, but as soon as they stepped into the hallway, they heard it again, a slow, deep clicking. From both ends of the corridor, Ryan's entire body went rigid. Ziara's hand went to the hilt of an invisible weapon. There's more than one. The clicking grew louder, faster. Ryan's grip on his metal pipe tightened. "Yeah, I figured that out." Then, from the shadows ahead, the glowing white eyes appeared. And this time, there were 3 pairs. Ryan's stomach dropped. "Run," Zara whispered. They bolted as the creatures rushed forward. The escape plan. The clicking sounds grew faster. Ryan and Ziara ran at full speed, their boots pounding against the metallic floor. The hallway was dimly lit, emergency lights flickering erratically, casting long, shifting shadows. Behind them, the creatures moved like living nightmares, their elongated limbs skittering against the walls and ceiling, their glowing white eyes locked onto their prey. Ryan risked a glance back. Bad idea. One of the creatures lunged, its long, serrated limbs just inches from slashing his back. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward, forcing his legs to move faster. "Go left," Sierra shouted. Ryan followed without question. They turned sharply into another corridor, this one lined with broken consoles and flickering monitors. Sparks rained from exposed wires. Sierra glanced at the station map on her wrist device. "We're close to the cargo bay." Ryan barely had time to process that before a deafening screech erupted behind them. One of the creatures had vaulted onto the ceiling, moving sideways like a spider. Ryan's heart slammed against his ribs. "That's cheating," Sierra snarled, raising her claws. "If we die, at least we agree on that." They kept running, dodging debris and broken panels. The creatures were fast, but they weren't reckless. They were hurting them. Ryan's instincts screamed, "It's a trap." But they had no other choice. They burst into a wide storage hall filled with massive cargo containers stacked on top of each other, leading to a towering set of reinforced steel doors at the end. The entrance to the cargo bay. Ryan exhaled. Almost there. Then the door slammed shut. A mechanical voice echoed through the hall. "Emergency losiki deoduin ini. Tai. Te. Security access required." Ryan skidded to a stop, swearing under his breath. "Oh, come on." Sierra rushed to the control panel, her fingers flying across the interface. "I can override this, but I need time." Ryan turned back. They didn't have time. The creatures entered the hall, moving with terrifying precision. They didn't rush. They didn't charge. They stalked forward, taking their time, savoring the hunt. Ryan gripped his rusted metal pipe, feeling the sweat on his palms. "Any chance you can hack that thing in the next 3 seconds?" Sierra didn't look up. "Not unless you can fight them off in the next 3 seconds. Ryan exhaled. "Great. No pressure." The creatures split apart, spreading across the hall, cutting off every possible escape route. Their glowing white eyes burned in the dark. Then, one of them moved. Ryan barely had time to react. The black blur lunged, claws slashing through the air. He ducked, swinging the metal pipe with all his strength. The impact sent a jolt up his arms, but the creature barely staggered. It clicked once, mocking him. Then it attacked again. Ryan rolled under a claw swipe, barely dodging in time. He grabbed a loose metal panel from the ground and flung it forward. It collided with the creature's face, buying him a precious second. Sierra hissed, "Hold them off." Ryan wiped sweat from his forehead. "Yeah, working on it." Another creature charged, but before it could reach Ryan, Sierra attacked. She vaulted into the air, twisting her body mid-leap, and slammed her claws into its throat. The creature shrieked, but Sierra didn't stop. She ripped its head back and dug deeper, tearing through its exoskeleton. The creature collapsed, twitching violently before falling still. Ryan gawked. "Holy sh!" Less talking, more fighting. Sierra barked, leaping off the body. The other two creatures didn't hesitate. If anything, they moved faster, adjusting their tactics. Ryan gritted his teeth. "I hate smart enemies." One of them lunged at Sierra, claws swiping, but Ryan intercepted, slamming his pipe against its arm. The impact was enough to throw off its aim, giving Sierra time to dodge. The third creature finally attacked, using the distraction to launch itself at Ryan. Ryan didn't have time to dodge. A bladed limb cut toward his chest. Then the cargo doors slid open. An ear-splitting alarm blared through the station. Sierra grabbed Ryan's arm and yanked him backward just as the creature's claws slashed past his face. They tumbled through the open doorway, and Sierra slammed the panel, sealing the door just in time. The creatures let out an inhuman screech, their claws raking against the metal. The door shook, but it held. Ryan lay on the floor, gasping for breath. That was way too close. Ziara sat up, her own breathing heavy. Agreed. Then, silence. For the first time, the station wasn't filled with clicking or metal scraping. Just stillness. Ryan slowly got to his feet. They were inside the cargo bay. The massive hangar stretched out before them, filled with freight containers, decommissioned supply drones, and a few docked cargo shuttles. Ryan exhaled. Please tell me at least one of those ships works. Ziara didn't respond. Ryan turned. She was staring at the far end of the hangar. His stomach dropped. At the far end of the room, a massive glass window overlooked deep space. The stars beyond should have been calm and endless, but instead, they were flickering, distorted. Something was blocking the station's signal. Then he saw it. A dark shape moving outside the station, massive and slow. Not a ship. Something bigger. Ryan felt a chill crawl up his spine. Ziara's voice was barely a whisper. We were never supposed to escape. Ryan swallowed hard. Yeah, I figured that part out. The creature's screeches echoed from the other side of the door. They weren't done yet. The final confrontation. The cargo bay was eerily silent. Ryan and Ziara stood at the center of the vast hangar, their bodies tense, their breathing heavy. The air smelled of burnt metal and engine fuel, and the floor beneath them was littered with debris, remnants of old shipments that never made it to their destinations. But all of that was secondary. Ryan's eyes were locked on the massive shape moving outside the station's reinforced glass windows. It was impossible to tell its full size. The way it shifted, the way it blocked out the stars, made it feel like a living shadow, something that shouldn't exist. Ziara's claws flexed involuntarily. That is not a ship. Ryan swallowed hard. No, it's worse. She turned to him. Worse. Ryan pointed at the distant shape. Look carefully. It's not moving away. Ziara's glowing yellow eyes focused, narrowing slightly. Then they widened. Her voice turned cold. It's attached to the station. Ryan felt a chill crawl up his spine. He'd thought the station was just crippled from the battle, that the emergency systems were failing because of the attack. But now he knew the truth. Something was feeding off the station. Ziara exhaled sharply. That explains the interference. Our distress signals aren't being blocked from inside. They're being absorbed from outside. Ryan clenched his jaw. We're trapped in a station that's already dead. The realization hit hard. The creatures weren't just invaders. They were part of something much larger. Something that had latched onto the station, spread its spawn inside, and was now bleeding it dry. And they were still inside. Ryan shook himself out of the thought. We need to move. The shuttles. A loud metallic screech tore through the hangar. Ryan spun around. The cargo bay doors, the ones they had sealed shut just moments ago, were bending inward. The creatures were still coming. Ziara cursed under her breath. We didn't kill enough of them. Ryan's muscles coiled, ready to fight. You say that like we killed even one properly. Another screech. Then a crack. One of the door's reinforced panels split apart, and through the widening gap, dozens of glowing white eyes flickered in the dark. Ryan exhaled. This just keeps getting better. Ziara pulled out a small alien plasma charge from a compartment on her belt. Buy me time. I can weld the doors shut. Ryan stepped forward, raising his rusted metal pipe. Buy you time? You mean fight the nightmare horde alone? Ziara grinned. I'll owe you a drink. Ryan snorted. If we live through this, I want a whole damn bottle. Then the doors burst open. The creatures swarmed forward, faster than before, their elongated limbs twisting and snapping as they moved. Ryan didn't wait. He charged straight in. The first creature lunged, its razor-sharp claws slashing through the air. Ryan ducked low, swinging his pipe like a baseball bat. The impact sent a shockwave up his arms, but the creature barely flinched. Ryan rolled backward just as another swiped at his face, missing by inches. He grabbed a fallen cargo crate, hurling it into the horde. The impact slowed them for only a moment, but it was enough. Ziara worked fast, her fingers flying over the alien interface, setting the charge. 30 more seconds, she called. Ryan dodged another clawed attack, barely managing to keep himself from getting torn apart. Then, from the ceiling, one of the creatures leaped. Ryan's instincts screamed. He turned just in time, but not fast enough. The creature tackled him to the ground. Ryan hit the hard floor with a brutal impact, his metal pipe flying from his grip. The creature's horrific face loomed over him, white eyes staring hungrily, its many limbs pinning him down. Ryan struggled, but the creature was too strong. It raised one razor-sharp limb, aiming directly for his throat. Blast! The creature's head exploded in a shower of black ichor. Ryan gasped as the dead weight of the alien fell off him. He turned his head just in time to see Ziara standing there, her claws still smoking from an energy discharge. She smirked. "Took you long enough to get tackled." Ryan groaned. Yeah, thanks for the save." She tossed him a small, sharp piece of broken metal. "Get up. We're not done yet." Ryan caught it, gripping it tight. A makeshift blade, not great, but better than nothing. The charge beeped. 5 seconds, Ziara shouted. Ryan grabbed her wrist, yanking her away from the cargo doors just as the explosion detonated. Boom! The doors slammed shut, the metal fusing together in a molten seal. The creatures on the other side shrieked in rage, their claws scratching uselessly against the reinforced bulkhead. Ryan panted, staring at the sealed entrance. That was way too close. Ziara nodded. We bought time, but not much. Ryan turned back to the shuttles. There were 3 of them, old cargo haulers meant for transport, not combat. Ziara was already scanning them. One of these should still have power. Ryan moved to the nearest console, fingers flying over the controls. The screen flickered to life. Then, a new warning flashed. External HCCSS locked. Command override required. Ryan's stomach sank. What does that mean? Ziara's voice was tense. It means someone, or something, is still controlling this station. Ryan turned, his mind racing. Wait, if we're locked in here, that means... Before he could finish his sentence, the lights flickered again. Then the station's intercom crackled to life. A voice, deep, unnatural, and not human, spoke 3 chilling words. You cannot leave. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. Ziara's eyes darkened. We are not alone. The station shuddered violently, as if something had just awakened. And this time, it wasn't just the creatures hunting them. Something else had been waiting. Something far worse. The unexpected turn. The station shuddered again, hard enough to knock Ryan and Ziara off their feet. The intercom's crackling voice faded into an eerie silence, but the tension in the air felt heavier than ever. Ryan stumbled to his knees, pressing a hand against the cold metal floor to steady himself. Ziara. She was already on her feet, claws flexed, her glowing yellow eyes darting across the hangar. It's not over, she said, voice tight. Ryan grunted. You don't say. Their only hope now lay in one of the 3 cargo shuttles lined up at the far end of the bay. The overhead lights were dim and flickering, casting long shadows over the battered vessels. They didn't look like much. Bulky, rust-streaked, and clearly past their prime. But if one of them still had power, it might be their only chance to escape. Which one? Ryan asked. Ziara sprinted to the nearest control terminal, her claws flying over the panel. A green light flickered briefly before a warning message flashed on the screen. Power core OFF line. System failure. Not this one. Ryan moved to the next shuttle, his fingers trembling as he activated the interface. The console stuttered to life, humming weakly, before sputtering out in a shower of sparks. "Great, this is going well." Ziara hissed in frustration, slamming her fist against the terminal. "We don't have time for this." That voice, whatever it was, it means we're not dealing with just the creatures anymore. Something else is here. Something controlling all of this. Ryan shook his head. "We don't have time to figure out what it wants. We just need a ship that works." He ran to the third shuttle. The console was dusty, the screen cracked, but as he activated it, the lights flickered steadily. Power online. This one, Ziara, it's still running. She was already moving toward him when the sound started. A deep guttural hum, vibrating through the walls. It was low at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew louder and more intense, making the floor beneath them tremble. Ryan gripped the edge of the console, his teeth clenching. The hum became a pulsing rhythm, like the beating of a massive alien heart. Then, from the corners of the hangar, the darkness began to shift. Ryan's chest tightened. What is that?" Ziara stared at the shadows, her claws extending. "It's not just one thing. It's everywhere." The air around them seemed to ripple as shapes emerged. Dozens of them, creatures similar to the ones they'd fought before, but these were larger, more monstrous. Their limbs were longer, their exoskeletons blacker than the void outside, and their glowing white eyes burned like cold stars. Ryan's mind raced. This was no longer a matter of just fighting their way out. This was survival against impossible odds. The creatures moved slowly, deliberately, their clawed feet scraping against the floor, leaving deep gouges in the metal. They weren't rushing this time. They were closing in, one step at a time, forcing Ryan and Ziara back toward the last shuttle. "Get the ship ready," Ziara shouted. Ryan snapped out of his trance and started hammering commands into the console. The screen flashed warnings. "CARGOLOCKS ENGGD LIFES UPPOR OFF line. Manual OVERID required." He cursed under his breath and slammed his fist against the panel. Ziara hissed. "That door is supposed to withstand explosives." Ryan clenched his jaw. Whatever was out there, it was strong. A third impact sent sparks flying as the door began to buckle. Ryan turned to Ziara. "Tell me you've got a plan." Ziara's eyes glowed in the dim red light. "Survive." Ryan grabbed a broken metal pipe from the floor. He had no weapon, but he wasn't about to die without a fight. The final blow came, and the door ripped open. The air turned ice cold. A horrible clicking sound filled the chamber, deep and unnatural. The dim red light revealed a dark, shifting form in the corridor. Long black limbs, too many of them, moved unnaturally. The creature's glowing white eyes locked onto them. Ryan felt his blood run cold. Ziara whispered, barely audible, "That is not from this galaxy." Ryan gripped the pipe tighter. The real nightmare had just begun. The hidden enemy. The air inside the quarantine chamber turned frigid as the torn metal door screeched open. A thick, unnatural silence settled over the room as Ryan and Ziara stood frozen, their bodies tense, their breath shallow. Beyond the broken doorway, the dim emergency lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the corridor. The creature stepped forward. Ryan tightened his grip on the rusted metal pipe, his heartbeat pounding like a war drum in his chest. The thing before them wasn't human. It wasn't Zyrith. It wasn't like anything he had ever seen. It had too many limbs. Its black, insect-like body shifted unnaturally, folding and unfolding as it moved. Its pale, glowing eyes locked onto them with an unnatural intelligence. A faint clicking sound echoed through the chamber, like an ancient predator communicating in a language neither of them could understand. Ryan took a slow step back. That's a problem. Ziara was deathly still. Her yellow eyes, usually filled with hostility or defiance, now held something Ryan had never seen from a Zyrith before. Pure fear. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. Her claws twitched at her sides. That is not from this galaxy. The creature twitched, its elongated head tilting as if studying them. Then it moved. Fast. Too fast. Ryan barely had time to react as a black limb shot forward, missing his face by inches. He ducked, swinging the metal pipe blindly. The impact sent shockwaves up his arms, but the creature barely flinched. It recoiled, clicking rapidly, its pale eyes flaring. Then, suddenly, it stopped moving. Ryan's grip on the pipe tightened. Ziara's claws dug into her palms. The creature was sniffing the air. A slow, crawling dread settled in Ryan's stomach. It wasn't attacking. It was analyzing them. Ziara's voice was barely a whisper. It's hunting. Ryan's throat went dry. Hunting what? The creature's glowing eyes snapped to him. Then, with terrifying speed, it lunged. Ryan barely dodged, rolling across the floor as the creature's limbs sliced through the air where he had stood. He heard metal rip, the sound of something unnatural scraping against steel. Ziara reacted instantly. She leaped onto the creature's back, her sharp claws sinking into its tough, black exoskeleton. The thing shrieked, a high-pitched, unnatural sound that made Ryan's skin crawl. It thrashed violently, slamming Ziara against the wall. She let out a sharp gasp of pain, but didn't let go. Ryan forced himself up, gripping the pipe like a weapon. He had fought aliens, he had faced death before, but this was something else. This thing was built to kill. Faster, stronger, smarter. And worst of all, it was just playing with them. Ryan gritted his teeth, no time to hesitate. He raised the metal pipe and swung with everything he had. The pipe connected with the creature's head. A sickening crack echoed through the chamber. The thing let out a horrible screech and staggered back, giving Ziara just enough time to push off and land beside Ryan. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, her usually confident stance slightly shaken. Ryan wiped blood from his lip. I think we made it angry. Ziara bared her sharp teeth. Good. The creature let out a series of clicks, then suddenly stopped moving again. Its glowing white eyes locked onto them. And for the first time, Ryan realized something even more terrifying than its strength. It was studying them. Not like an animal. Like a hunter. It tilted its head. The clicking sound slowed. Ziara's eyes widened. It's learning. Ryan's stomach dropped.